In the early years of parkour, most people focused on large movements, big drops, big cat grabs, big jumps. But one quite philosophical member of the Scottish parkour community quickly realised that this was just not sustainable, and went about creating a unique parkour style that, although seen everywhere today, was not seen at all back then. But creating a new parkour style is not the extent of this man's abilities. There's so much more to him than first meets the eye. So let's take a look at Scott Houston, a man ahead of his time. Scott began his life in Preston in Lancashire in 1986, and as a child was always active. At just 6 years old, his parents were told he needed an outlet, something to put all of his time and energy into, as school was just not doing it. And so he was sent to gymnastics classes. Fast forward to 2003, Scott saw Jump London, the first ever UK parkour documentary, which inspired hundreds to take up the sport. During his breaks from work at the St Enoch shopping centre, he would go and train, and thus began his journey deep into the parkour world. In the early days, much like everyone else, Scott focused on large, impressive, one-off movements, his motto being "go big or go home." In 2008, he met a group called New Perspective who were based in Manchester, and in no time at all, he was training with them on a regular basis. Not long after, he and they were invited to be the guinea pigs of a new parkour coaching qualification that was being set up by Parkour Generations. This qualification essentially gave them a temporary level 2 coaching license, and in 2010, fueled with his experience and temporary license, Scott moved to Glasgow and joined the Glasgow parkour coaching team. From the start, it was evident to the Glasgow community that Scott was no ordinary traceur. He was completing massive challenges that most people in the Scottish community only joked about. There is in fact a large cat grab, arm jump, cat leap challenge, whatever you want to call it, in Glasgow called the Scott Houston arm jump, because no one has ever completed it apart from him. He very quickly became a well-respected member of the Scottish parkour community for his physical abilities and also his coaching skills. But it was around this time that Scott had really begun to think about the way he trained and what all of this impact was doing to his body. He knew that if he continued to train in this way, he would not be able to train for long, he would reach his peak very quickly, and it would be a fast downward slope from there. Having always had an interest in performance and dance, with a little bit of his gymnastics experience thrown in, Scott started creating intricate, slow, dance-style lines. Low impact, but a high level of fluidity and creativity. His love for these type of lines increased in 2012 when he took part in a performance tour around Scotland. However, this also stirred up his love for something else. Performing, acting and stunt work was always a keen interest of Scott's, ever since he was 12 years old. At 17 years old, he took part in a fight sequence that his brother was filming for a college project, and then in 2004, Scott got an official stunt role in a movie called Displaced. Although this came out in 2006, the filming started in 2004, and although it wasn't a brilliant movie, it was Scott's first introduction to the performance and stunting world. Off the back of this, he decided he wanted to be a part-time stuntman, but quickly realized that this just wasn't the path for him. After the COVID-19 pandemic, Scott realized that his relationship with parkour was not as strong as it once was. The only thing that brought him joy anymore was filmmaking and acting. So he and a filmmaker that he had met during the pandemic set out to make a budget film. Now, there are plenty of budget films around, but this one was different. They wanted to make it perfect. They spent 15 months creating the trailer for this film and are currently still in the process of shooting the main film. All 30 cast and crew are doing it voluntarily, their aim being to show the world that amazing films can be made with little to no budget whatsoever. With acting, stunting and filming in his vision for the future, parkour has pretty much exited Scott's life. Although he has no intention of returning to parkour professionally or as a coach, he still has a hard drive of moves that he can tap into if needs be. And he will always be a respected and remembered member of the Scottish parkour community.
Scott's got a wee bit of muscle pain in his legs. What?
Thank you so much for watching this documentary on the life of Scott Houston. If you enjoyed it, feel free to give it a like, click the subscribe button, and share it around with anyone you think may be interested. Big thanks to Scott Houston for allowing me to make this documentary and helping me get all the information that I needed to make it possible. If there's anyone in the Scottish parkour scene that you think I should make a documentary on next, then please leave a comment down below or send me a message on Instagram. See you around.